From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the social media pages, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, also on Twitter at Talk El Paso, YouTube, the Talk El Paso channel, and even Twitch, which is Andrew J. Polk. Also find it a few other pages and places that way, but all the point is around to have that discussion as we continue our mission to bring back live local talk radio to the borderland because, well, we think we deserve it. And having those discussions is more important than ever. Don't forget, we're still in an election right now. I mean, definitely on the Texas side of things, there's a couple of positions on the ballot. On the New Mexico side of things, a lot of things on positions on the ballot. The major ones on the El Paso side, again, are those bond propositions, that main one for Canutillo, as well as those constitutional amendments, of which we've had a significant amount of discussion, and will continue to do so as we get up to Election Day. Early voting going through the end of this week, not going to be on this Sunday, as then Election Day is going to be the next coming Tuesday after this one, that is. So, go out and vote, because no matter where you live, anywhere you're hearing this, there's something on the ballot that you should be at least aware of. If I'm not thinking anyone's actually doing this, but if someone's making the conscientious decision that I'm aware of these issues and I'm choosing not to vote, I disagree with you, but I don't think most people are even doing that. I think it's a lot of people being, what election? If you were to ask them, like, seriously, that happened back in like 2016, if you recall. There was a flurry of activity, more specifically 2018 during the midterm elections, when there was a whole lot of national media coming through town, going to places like Bowie Bakery and Segundo Barrio and asking people what they thought of the election. And it hurts my heart every time I think to remember it, that there was essentially a response to what election? Oh, we can't be doing that anymore. We cannot have that level of apathy when it comes to dealing with this. And even if none of this lights your heart on fire, which I would argue with you that there's reason it should, but I mean, I'm not going to force a level of excitement out of everyone, but you should at least care for what it signifies. I mean, we've got a whole lot of talking about virtue signaling and all that fun stuff that comes along with it. So if you're not even considering what's on the ballot and what it means, what it looks like when we have those, this is your chance to get me to stop saying it. 3% voter turnout, though. I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic that we'll see more, but I'm also realistic in a certain way that I think there's going to be a potential for a drop in voter turnout, which conversely means that your vote means that much more coming up. So that's mild soapbox here to start off your week. We got a lot to talk about here today. We got some items coming up on City Council being talked about, including talking about new looks at what that downtown arena, technically the Multi-Purpose Performing Arts and Entertainment Center, also known as MPC, also known to anyone who's heard about it in town more accurately or more commonly as the arena, as John Brazelton, tuning in on over the Facebook page, let us know that he did vote last week. A round of applause. Thank you for doing it. Now, your mission, should you choose to accept it, and I sure hope you do, is to get everyone you know to go out and vote too, because really that's what ends up mattering. Because I kind of also just want to break through that only certain sectors, I mean, we don't even have like only these certain people vote, because there's not enough people doing it in town. So encourage, at the very least encourage, but like, maybe offer them a ride if you can, if you're in that kind of way. So you'll go with them, you'll discuss all the issues with them to make it as easy as possible for them to go out and vote. Even if it's not the people that everyone you know, everyone that agrees with you on your particular issue, make sure they go out and vote. At least you put the bug in their ear, because it affects things like, well, what else have we coming up here? And again, particularly on the New Mexico side of things. I know we don't talk about New Mexico quite enough outside of those fun elections. I really hope Xochitl Small is doing all right, since we heard so much about her in the last election there. Well, I think she's actually been appointed to some boards and advisory committees in the meantime, so I think she's doing fine. But this is the stuff that we need to be talking about. So particularly in New Mexico, you have got school board positions, you have got municipal posts, you've got water board and service posts. A lot of stuff that's going to be affecting all of your life. But even here in Texas, constitutional amendments, those little insignificant things that could affect, amongst other things. Prop 2 is probably the one that has the biggest bang for the buck in terms of what the impact could be going down the road, in terms of counties being able to, what sounds like, in my non-legal opinion, of being able to pass bonds. They talk about financing and revenue and passing for infrastructure projects, which sounds a lot like what bonds are used for, at least within municipalities currently in Texas. So if it concerns you, or you're in favor of counties being able to act slightly more like cities in this limited way, you should probably head out and vote. Follow John's sterling example here of voting. Need to go out myself as well. Probably sneak in during early voting because it's just so much simpler and easier for your life. There's a lot of good ways and reasons to go. Vote early and often is a phrase that I say halfway tongue-in-cheek because anyone voting, again, in our area is a good thing. But again, our guest today, speaking about voting in elections, we've got this current one, but we are having an eye towards the next one. The guest we'll be talking with the next segment is one that's going to be coming up, hopefully, going to be on the ballot, and then hoping to be on that November ballot for next year, that of Matthew Dowd. And we'll be getting more into him, hoping to challenge current Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. And that's intriguing enough. But there's a lot more that goes into this story and this matchup than you might think. If you know what's going on here, have heard that name before, you've already got an idea of the complexities involved here, but we'll dig into that here in the next segment. So that's just some of the stuff going on here. And of course, would be remiss if I didn't at least mention that I wasn't able to go out and see it, but saw some of the coverage of the memorial service for former and UTEP President Emerita, Dr. Diana Natalicio, as well as I believe the El Paso Requiem was also somewhat planned around, but also dedicated to her honor there, that happened with the symphony orchestra and that thing. So that was, I think, an important one to mark and mention, because just hearing from people about the change that has been seen over the years and the importance of institutions like that here in El Paso, including UTEP, it's an important one to mark there. So a lot of important stuff going on around town here. So just one more note before we hit this first break here about specifically the El Paso Republican Liberty Caucus give a pretty distinct write-up of everything here, and a little bit of memeage, which I appreciate there. On agenda item 22, discussion and action to direct city manager and staff to come back at the November 23rd, 2021 City Council meeting with an estimate of how much the Multipurpose Performing Arts and Entertainment Center, MPC, project would cost if it was executed today. In their analysis, putting forth that the $180 million bond approved in the 2012 Quality of Life Bond project, which is coming up on its 10th anniversary. Yay. That only $165 million of that remained due to real estate deals and others. So it was always a question. So that'll be an interesting one to watch as we come up again on this next season. And again, if you're ever wondering why elections matter, why you should care, why you should go to the ballot box, these guys aren't on this one, but they were on previous ones. Y'all better have voted in that one if you have a gripe about this one. So as I have Maria Kallman joining us over on the Facebook page, seeing signs on the west side urging people to vote for that huge CISD bond for the Canutillo Independent School District. Again, one of several bonds going on within our broadcast area here. That's on the Texas side of things, those kind of in northwest El Paso County. But then we've also got 3 bonds going on within the New Mexico, just in Doña Ana County alone, including the Gadsden and Las Cruces School District, and one more that I am forgetting offhand, but I'll grab my note here in a minute and remind y'all. A lot of stuff going on when it comes to elections, and we'll be talking more about that after the break here again, as we'll be joined by a lieutenant governor hopeful and all that race entails. So we've got to take that break right now. Again, coming back from the break, more on that. If you want to comment, best place to do so right now over on the various social media pages, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso. But taking those calls a little bit later in the hour, as we usually do. So stay tuned. You're locked in to Talk El Paso. Back after this break. Whatever you need to do to take control of your day, whether it's going to a ballot box or just making it through the end of the workday, what I reach for is Clever Tea. More often than not anyway, KLEVRT, because their Oolong Wise blend has a lot of benefits that come with it besides being just good to boot. I mean, really, I was a decently enjoyer of hot teas, but iced teas, particularly the sweet teas that we know and love here in Texas, would often be just too much. If it feels like my teeth are going to rot out of my head, it might be too much for me anyway. But their Oolong Wise blend, particularly when you get it pre-made within the bottles with that delicious blend of oolong tea, coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthorn berry, cinnamon, and just the right amount of sweetness with monk fruit that also keeps you on track with whatever your goals are because it's 0 calorie that way. It's something that I reach for, again, more often than not, even though I would not have described myself as a tea drinker to exclusion, but this is a change in my mind. Anyway, you can find it for yourself, boxes and bottles at local stores and at local markets, and find them online at clevertea.com. They're out most weekends because getting out, getting to the people, being out and about while we still are enjoying this great weather is an important thing. So find them online at clevertea.com. That's KLEVRTEA.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy traffic on I-10 westbound between Yarborough up to the roadwork scene at Viscount right now with a right lane closure. Merge left to get by. This is ongoing until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Also an injury crash on Hercules at Railroad Drive. Avoid delays in the area. Take an alternate route like Diana for north-south travel. That's a look at your latest El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report limitations apply.
Take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandy Brow, board-certified vascular interventionalist with healthcare hacks to help you navigate our complex medical system and insights on treatments for common medical problems weekly on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a question for the doc? Submit them ahead of the show by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandy Brow, coming this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Aggressive driving, such as speeding, rapid acceleration, and hard braking, can lower your highway fuel economy by up to 40% and cost you up to $1.27 more per gallon in gasoline. Save money and reduce your transportation emissions by avoiding aggressive driving. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, and a lot of ways to interact with the show. Taking those phone calls a little bit later in the hour, as we usually do, opening up at the end of this segment here towards the bottom of the hour. But also, we've got the social media pages, including Facebook, main one, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. We're putting it on a lot of places these days because kind of need to. We got Leroy Chuck, John Brazelton, Maria Coleman commenting in right now, along with more tuning in. We got some questions about those current bonds and elections and discussion going on that we'll definitely get to, but we're going to turn our eye just right now to an upcoming election. This is the uniform one here for November, as happens most Novembers, but they're not, of course, the big ones, and the big ones are coming next year. We got two major races, or contests, I should say, that are coming up when it comes to both the primaries in March and then the general election in November. That is, the midterms for this current term of the presidential administration, its own narrative, to be sure. But even at the same time, we got stuff coming up here in Texas. And so to talk more about that and his candidacy, we are joined now by Matthew Dowd, candidate for lieutenant governor as a Democrat. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Great to be here, Andrew. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Yours is an interesting story, even how you came to this office, but people may have heard of you in a variety of capacities, frankly, over the years, most recently as a news commentator and analyst. But for those who may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. I came to Texas about 38 years ago to go to graduate school at the University of Texas and then started working in politics, which has been a part of what I've done for most of my life here. Worked first for the Texas Democratic Party and then went to work for Lloyd Benson, who was a U.S. Senator, Democratic Senator from here, and then worked for Bob Bullock for 8 years, ran both his campaigns. The last Democratic Lieutenant Governor of Texas, helped Ann Richards in her race when she won in 1990, and then started a couple of companies, and then went to work for George W. Bush in his presidential race in 2000 and in 2004, had a very public break with him over the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and over the divisiveness in politics, became an independent. In that time, went to work for ABC News as their chief political analyst, and then left ABC News this past January. Have written a couple of books along the way, have a new book coming out on November the 8th called Revelations on the River, which I wrote here where I live in Wimberley, Texas, between San Antonio and Austin. So a variety of things, but always a great love and commitment to politics.
So it's a very interesting chart there that of a career that you've had. And again, worth noting here that, again, as you also have on your website, dowdtexas.com, charting out a bit of that. But one of the major things, at least being talked about yourself here in your announcement that came end of last month, to do this run for, interestingly enough, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, setting yourself up pretty squarely against Dan Patrick is what it comes down to, is that, again, you were a part of the George W. Bush campaigns and administration and those wins. And so that may lead to, for people who just, this is their first introduction there, an interesting question of then the decision to run as a Democrat within Texas, which has a few facets to it. But in your own words, why that decision now?
So I worked for the last, as I mentioned, I worked for the last Democratic Lieutenant Governor, who I think did a lot of good for the state, Bob Bullock. And as I've watched things unfold in the last few years, I've become increasingly concerned about where we were headed as a country, but specifically as a state. And I've come convinced that the only vehicle that is an actual small d democratic vehicle that still supports the Constitution and the principles upon which we all stand and is interested in the common good is the Democratic Party today, in my view. And that came to that long before January 6th. But January 6th and the events that happened at the Capitol was sort of a key moment for me to begin thinking, what else can I do? Can I do more? And then this past summer, I started watching what was going on in the legislative session. It was a combination of both not dealing with the big issues that face the state, not dealing with them in any way that is helpful to all Texans, and then the culture war that was launched specifically by the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, in this. So they didn't deal with the stuff that needed to be dealt with and then went off into all this other stuff that most Texans opposed. And so as I watched that, I thought, I could give up the life I had, which is a good life, sitting by the Blanco River and writing and doing the things that I did, and make a commitment to try to help the state and try to have some new brand of leadership that's based on all the Texas values that we all were raised on, or we raise our own children on, like integrity and like compassion for others and care for others, and a commitment to public service. So that's where I got it. As your listeners may or may not know, Lieutenant Governor is an exceedingly powerful position in the state, that he decides all the legislation and what happens in the state Senate. And so what ends up on the governor's desk goes through the Lieutenant Governor and how that all unfolds. And so it's a really important position. It can do a lot of good, but as my view is, it also can do a lot of bad, which I think has happened in Dan Patrick's tenure.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Matthew Dowd, a candidate for the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, running as a Democrat in the upcoming, again, primaries and then hopefully general election. Again, his website, if you want to find out any of these details, or his platform there, dowdtexas.com. It is an interesting way that you describe the Lieutenant Governor seat, because we talk about it a decent amount on this program, but for the general public, in my sense, it seems like it's almost a kind of an inside baseball discussion, that most of the focus happens on the top of the ballot seats, as often happens there, of your representative and the governor, and not much focus on them specifically this seat. But it also then raises a larger question of kind of the strategy of doing this. There have been challenges that have happened to sitting incumbents, particularly from the other side of the aisle, for years now in Texas, some of them with varying amounts of enthusiasm, but none particularly effective is what it really ends up coming down to. Why to do this? I'm assuming this isn't just a symbolic move on your part as a challenge to then wave a flag around. I'm assuming you're expecting some success, which would be going against some of the common knowledge or common wisdom about how elections have worked in Texas for the last better part of my lifetime, frankly. So realistically, what are your expectations for this election season?
So I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew. I have no interest in making this some sort of vanity run of just to be on the ballot. It does me, the sacrifices that people make, and I'm specifically make here to what you have to give up to do this. I believe I can win. I've run a lot of campaigns in Texas and around the country, and so I go to them with a strategy, with an idea of winning. So that's what I want to do, because I think the state will be better off with leadership that's committed to public service and the common good. So I think I'm doing it because I think it'll help Texans and protect Texans and get their voice heard, which I don't think their voice has been heard. So I go into with that, thought that I can win this race. The other part of this is, part of what I bring to it is I'm going to have this is going to be a discussion about values and what are our values as Texans, and are they reflected in the people that hold office in Austin, Texas? Are those values reflected by the current lieutenant governor? I'm going to argue they're not, for many different reasons. And the level of dishonesty and all of the things that are included, including only appealing to a tiny group of Texans and not appealing to all Texans. And so that will be part of it. The other part, I think I have the opportunity, is to raise the profile of this race in a bigger way, as opposed to some sleepy down ballot race that people aren't aware of. I'm going to try to talk to Texans about why this office is important and why what the incumbent done has harmed them and their families. And so hopefully by who I am and how I'm going to run, it will raise the profile of this race so it doesn't disappear and people are unaware of why it matters.
One of the other major questions that has come up, frankly, from the same side of the aisle that you're running on, that we have, I believe it's Mike Collier, if I'm pronouncing that right, who was previously announced as a candidate, kind of saying that it doesn't make sense for you to be running as a Democrat, given your background here. You talked a little bit about this, but honestly, you haven't talked much about in respect to that part of it, given that that's the first challenge that would be coming up here in March of next year. What are your thoughts on that aspect of this race and that contention?
So I'm gonna run this race. My goal and the North Star I have is to run and remove Dan Patrick, because I think every day he stays in office, he harms Texans. So my 100% goal, every dollar, every moment, is going to be spent on Dan Patrick. I'm not going to attack Mike Collier. I'm not going to go negative on Mike Collier. I understand I have a primary. I'm going to ask Democratic voters to understand that I share their values, so they can see that I share their values on all of the different things about service, about the common good, about doing what's in the best interest of Texas, about reflecting their voices. And then two, the other important question I have to ask is, who's the best candidate to go up against Dan Patrick and win? You don't want to nominate people just because they share your values. You also want to nominate people not only because they share your values, but also because they have a greater capacity to succeed in the election. Mike's run before. He lost in 2018. He ran in 2014 for comptroller. He lost. He can present his plan or his image or the way he wants, his strategy and how he wants to run. I'm going to show them my values, and I'm also going to tell them, listen, I'm the guy that elected the last Democratic lieutenant governor here and helped elect the last Democratic governor here. I'm willing to put my sort of background and thoughts up against anybody in that. But my goal is to remove Dan Patrick.
What this then ends up coming naturally to a kind of a conclusion question for me anyway, is about the whole much vaunted blue wave that was talked about, even with then a local representative at the state level announcing his bid for then the Speaker of the House, that then didn't materialize after the Democrats failed to control the chamber. Of course, not as much of an impact kind of statewide when it comes to lieutenant governor, but particularly given that we have just had that redistricting that has now been signed into law that is pretty much analyzed as reinforcing existing power bases, particularly for Republicans. It was, as a lieutenant governor, you still then have to deal with that and interact with that. So when it comes to the idea of how representation is going to look going forward here in the state, what does that then mean for your considerations for this run, and how holding the office would mean?
Great question, Andrew. I'm intimately aware and able to work with both sides of the aisle, since I've known both sides of the aisle fairly well in my life. I want to work with both sides of the aisle on this. I want to work with Republicans in this. I want to make it collaborative. One of the things that I think Dan Patrick's done is he's destroyed the institution of the state Senate, which he runs in Austin. All Democratic senators would say that, and most Republican senators would say it if you gave them truth serum, that the institution has been broken. I want to remake and reform it back to the way it used to be, where you built consensus, you built collaboration. And my only rules in that regard is anybody is welcome into the room to have the conversation, whether you got a blue jersey, red jersey, purple jersey, green jersey, I don't care. As long as you, one, put the interests of all Texans first, all Texans, not just a particular interest in this. You're working on behalf of the common good of the state. You want that. That's what your goal is. And three is you want to base policy based on facts and science and the truth. If you agree to those three principles, let's gather around the table and come to consensus on policies that will advance that cause. And so I've done it before. I've worked, as you've said, on each side of the aisle. I have a capacity to do that. And I want to make the state Senate like it used to be, where it worked in collaboration and in consensus building to do what's best for Texans.
Again, guest right now has been Matthew Dowd, a candidate for the lieutenant governor of Texas, running on the Democratic ballot in the upcoming primaries. Find out any more information about what we've talked about or his campaign, dowdtexas.com. That's DOWD, Texas.com. So, Matthew, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us about this, lay out some of your campaign and what you're running on here today.
Thanks, Andrew. Love to come back on again whenever you want. That's always good to talk to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much there. So a lot to consider there. We are due for a break here right now. So coming back after this, we also have a lot of comments going on and already some people on the phone line, but we'll go ahead and open that up. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We got the rest of the half hour to go on this, and I'm sure we'll fill it up. So drop us a line, send us in the comments here. All that after this break with more Talk El Paso. In all of these issues that we discuss, it's important to know where to go to deal with those minor medical emergencies, because it doesn't matter what you were considering in your day, they're unplanned, and therefore they're not going to happen on your schedule. And that means you need to know where to go to handle it on any schedule. And so that's the resource that I go to at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center, 121 East Red Road, because they do offer that walk-in basis, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., not even just Monday through Friday, every day of the week, including those nights, weekends, holidays. And we are in that holiday season here already. Sure, Halloween counts as a holiday. And even with the spooky season, it's important to know those resources, though they can handle everything from your minor to your x-ray capabilities, your aches, breaks, sprains, bruises, and so much more, including testing, vaccinations, and more. So again, find them. No appointment needed. Fast and friendly 5-star medical service, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Justin Cruz, your CBS 4 News Update. El Paso County seems to be starting the week off on the wrong foot. The latest COVID-19 data shows that there are 174 new cases of the virus. We haven't seen this high of a daily increase since August 25th, when there were 241 cases. Yesterday also marked the 7th day in a row the county has posted a triple-digit increase. Hospitalizations, though, are dropping to 126. There are 48 patients currently in the ICU. A Las Cruces man is recovering after police say he was shot several times Saturday night. It happened on Jordan Road and Monte Vista Avenue. The victim was airlifted to UMC and is in stable condition this morning. Police say this is still an ongoing investigation and the victim is not cooperating with them. No arrests have been made at this time. With your CBS 4 News Update, I'm Justin Cree.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Heavy traffic on I-10 westbound between Yarborough up to the roadwork scene at Viscount right now, with a right lane closure. Merge left to get by. This is ongoing until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Also an injury crash on Hercules at Railroad Drive. Avoid delays in the area. Take an alternate route like Diana for north-south travel. That's a look at your latest El Paso traffic.
We started the week with near record high temperatures along with a very quiet weather pattern. Tonight, expect a mostly clear sky to remain in the forecast with light winds through the evening hours. Temperatures will range from the upper 50s in El Paso to the mid 50s in Las Cruces. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about stronger winds returning to the area along with fall-like temperatures. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Minor.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report limitations apply.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. As the days get shorter, you don't want to get caught in the spooky situation of not knowing where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. From the routine to minor medical emergencies, my go-to is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. From shots and testing to aches, sprains, breaks, and the rest of the unplanned parts of your day, they're at the ready with walk-ins accepted 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
I've lost a lot of weight. I'm working out like a maniac, and that means my muscles are sore. The CBD muscle creams from thetrustedlab.com are great after a workout when your muscles are sore. thetrustedlab.com. It's legal in Texas.
Is finding the right candidate slowing you down? Cut straight to you're hired with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in the same place. To find your next great hire, visit Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Be sure to tune into the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao this coming Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, because what Dr. Sandeep Rao does as a board-certified vascular interventionalist and during this program is go over some of what the latest news is, what's going on with major medical issues, which has absolutely been a subject of discussion this past, 2 years, but always just heightened focus, shall we say, and he really digs down into it, and also what's going on with the latest medical innovations to help you navigate our complex medical system with insights on treatments and more. And you can submit your own questions to him. You get sometimes people calling in and asking how they can submit a question. The best way to do so is by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's RAO, his last name, at medicalhackers.com. And be sure to tune in again this coming Saturday at noon, right after the El Paso History Radio Show on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff we're talking about here today, so thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on social media and a variety of pages, on including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso on Twitter and YouTube, and also Twitch at Andrew J. Polk. So a lot of ways to keep abreast of what's going on in these local and the issues that affect us locally, of which Lieutenant Governor's race is an interesting one. So again, thank you to our guest from the last segment, Matthew Dowd, because, when's the last time you really heard about the Lieutenant Governor's race? Anyway, also Talk El Paso brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See their new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com to learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate. Call certified property manager Ray Baca at 915-592-4549. That's 592-4549. Thank you to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us in our mission to bring back live local talk radio to the borderland. And a lot of discussion going on with some of these discussions and candidates we got going on. A.W. Hill saying no thanks to the idea of Democrat, quote-unquote, help in Texas. And some other interesting, Louis Panado not buying the independent aspect of it here, but a lot of discussion. And again, those phone lines are open now. That number to call 915-544-5876. 544-KTSM is Maria Coleman, also decrying the Democrat platform. Again, we're going to be bringing those coverage of those races as they come up here. So forewarned, forearmed is kind of the mantra I go with this, that whatever you may think for or against a particular party or candidate, more specifically in this case, if you don't even know what's going on with it, that's not really a discussion point now, is it? And that's, I think, a part of our problems here. We're not having as much discussion about the issues. So welcome to Sound Off. Tell us what you think. Again, that number 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Andrew on the west side. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, first of all, let me just say I've been Republican for about 40 years, ever since the 1980 election when I voted for Ronald Reagan. Number two, this Matthew Dowd, in the last 20 years, he's switched parties at least 3 times from Democrat to Republican, Independent to Republican, and then, if I'm not mistaken, now Democrat. Anyway, from what I gather, he is not very clear on how Dan Patrick has been detrimental to Texas. And my next point is this, from what I've read, I can't find anything on his policies or how he feels about the petroleum and gas industry. And I will tell you this, folks, he is no friend to the Second Amendment. So, Texans, you stand a chance to lose your gun rights if this man is elected into the lieutenant governor's office. But anyway, I digress, and I turn the mic over to you, Andrew. Take care.
No, sure thing. Thank you for those points there. I will say that, besides kind of the general points, this does seem like a campaign mostly in opposition to Dan Patrick. That part is pretty abundantly clear. From some of the campaign videos itself, you can see going on things like the bathroom bill, also the open carry / constitutional carry bill that was passed during this last year, some of the things that make prevalence within some of the campaign advertising. So it's not, I will say, there's a lot of talk about common sense for the common good and a common understanding and things like that. Again, DowdTexas.com if you want to see it for yourself and learn more about what those issues being brought up there are. And again, I don't say this as and therefore go vote for the guy. Inform yourself. Because what's the second thing that often comes up whenever we talked about, we should get more people going to the polls, is having informed people going to the polls. So, yeah, please know who is on the ballot and what they're going for, because, heck, Energy can come from a variety of places, including from opposition, and even if it seems like these past few years, most of the political energy that gets drummed up comes in opposition, including this campaign itself here. But we'll be keeping an eye on that one and the others as we inch ever closer to that. But again, don't lose focus on the fact that we're currently in one. I feel like it comes at an interesting time, but this is all important stuff. Just take it in bites. If you need to focus on this one only, please do here. All right, trying to squeeze in at least one more before we hit the next break here. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Well, I was reading that for CDC Week 42, the community El Paso reported 5 new deaths, 982 new COVID cases, and a total of 148,000 cases and 2,822 deaths. So, we haven't beat this thing yet. It's still going on. The community also reported 302 new breakthrough COVID-19 cases. So today I got my booster shot because I trust in science and not right-wing talk radio propagandists. And, I remember getting my polio vaccine back in grade school. And I don't recall any big hullabaloo back then made about it, And 3 of my friends got polio. And kids have had to get vaccines for generations. There's nothing new about this. I had allergies and took allergy shots for many years, so I'm not afraid of needles or Dr. Fauci. And the scientific and medical and public health community that he's part of. The right wing is turning him into a straw man. The speed that these vaccines were developed and deployed are a modern medical and scientific achievement and logistical achievement. It's an amazing thing. And I personally love science and technology. And I think the scientific method is humanity's greatest intellectual achievement. I wanted to be a chemical engineer, but I couldn't cut the math and chemistry with my lifestyle. So I decided to study business management, real estate, and education. And in any case, my first job out of college was with a scientific company called Texas Instruments. I was supervising the manufacture of electronic components that went into heart pacers and pocket pagers and auto electronics. Amazing things that science and technology can do. And from the time I was in middle school, I loved stereo equipment and spent quite a bit of money on stereo systems and music. I got a personal computer early on when they were very expensive and difficult to learn to operate. I needed one for my business. So science has advanced so much since I graduated from college. We went to the moon and back since then. We built all kinds of amazing machines and structures. Modern medical science and pharmacology has cured so many diseases, lessened so much suffering, and saved so many lives. Vaccinations are part of that story, and vaccinations are required, have been for generations. Here in Texas, kids got to get a vaccination for polymyelitis, 4 doses of the polio vaccine, a vaccine for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, 2 doses of MMR vaccine, hepatitis. So it's sad to say that about a third of Americans are functionally illiterate, reading the most books they ever did when they were forced to while they were in school.
I mean, I just got to say here at this point that I am vaccinated myself, and I don't think that most people, including that third there, is that they don't trust in science, which, let me back up even one step further. That is kind of an Orwellian phrase itself here, because literally science, the scientific method, as you mentioned it there, is not about blind trust and faith. Now, is it? It's literally about verification, about looking at systems, analyzing them, and then seeing if it's repeatable, because repeatability is also a core tenet of the scientific method, because if it's a fluke, then you can't really base stuff off of that. That's why we have, amongst things, the law of gravitational attraction and then the theory of it, because there are still things to be figured out, even with something that we all experience on a daily basis. So to say that this is just, well, trust it, kind of goes against the very idea of it itself here and starts getting dogmatic in ways that make me very uncomfortable, at the very least here. So yes, modern medical technology has done wonders for our world, literally. But then to just say, and therefore shut up and take it, you start losing me in that case anyway. And to lump then also the people who literally can't take the vaccine, who have legitimate reasons to be concerned about it, allergies to the ingredients of it, is just kind of cruel in my mind. I gotta say, just flat out. So we got to leave it there for the moment because we are overdue for a break here. But coming back from the break, we'll get to more of these issues and calls going on. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Speaking about what's going on with medical technology this month, something that is available again here in town, that of thermography. And since we are still in October and still marking Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they are still offering that $50 off all breast thermography, all breast thermograms for the rest of the month there. You can give them a call at 915-401-4053. Again, 915-401-4053. The technology is a bit different than you might be used to. I've gotten plenty of CT scans, MRIs, even ultrasounds in my time. This is imaging in a different way, of almost literally being an image that is taken and then analysis done on it to reveal what can't be seen from the surface here. So another tool in the arsenal for prevention and awareness here. So again, claim your $50 off there by calling that number, 915-401-4053, or visit elpasothermography.com. That's El Paso, TheRmography.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy traffic on I-10 westbound between Yarborough up to the roadwork scene at Viscount right now, with a right lane closure. Merge left to get by. This is ongoing until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Also an injury crash on Hercules at Railroad Drive. Avoid delays in the area. Take an alternate route like Diana for north-south travel. That's a look at your latest El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Is finding the right candidate slowing you down? Cut straight to you're hired with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in the same place. To find your next great hire, visit Indeed.com/credit.
Take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, board-certified vascular interventionalist, with healthcare hacks to help you navigate our complex medical system and insights on treatments for common medical problems weekly on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a question for the doc? Submit them ahead of the show by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, coming this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
On the true crime podcast Crossing the Line, host M. William Phelps investigates the murder cases that never got the big headlines.
Someone treats crime victims and their families with the slightest bit of disrespect, I am calling them out. Someone commits murder, I am going at them full throttle.
Listen to Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
Are you covered by Medicare and Medicaid? Well, El Paso Health Plus is the plan for you. As a local Medicare Advantage plan, we can offer our members more. Call us at 833-742-3125 or EPHMedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus.
Hi, Phil Swift here. When that next storm is barreling down, get prepared with the Flex Seal family of products. Floods can destroy your home. Push Flex base deep into cracks and holes to help prevent flooding. Seal doors and windows, patch leaky roofs and downspouts. Remember, when that storm is coming your way, keep your family safe and dry. Be prepared with the Flex Seal family of products. Available at flexsealproducts.com and fine retailers.
Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report limitations apply.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Speaking of things heating up or maybe starting to cool down here, as we get that change of the seasons, what we do get here in El Paso, it's an important thing to consider how your internal or indoor environment is going to be. Particularly think about this last year. Were you happy with it? Or even if you have an old system, might be time to think about replacing it. So that's why you should give the air conditioning company a call at 915-842-8615, 915-842-8615, because you can act now, get the best prices of the year, and save as much as 25%, particularly with those older furnaces. If you got one older than a couple of decades, if it wasn't frankly this century, you're probably missing out on a lot of savings that can come from the latest technology and safety aspects that come with it. Both definitely important, but just live your most comfortable life inside by giving them a call again, 915-842-8615, or log on to airconditioningcompanyllc.com. That's airconditioningcompanyllc.com. You'll love our company.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Short timing it here with our last segment. One question that had come in earlier that I didn't want to miss out on, Leroy Chuck asking a little bit earlier in the show. Can you explain what a bond is and how it would increase our taxes? So in general, bonds, particularly the ones that we have on the ballot right now, don't forget to go out and vote before or on Election Day coming up next Tuesday, not this current one, but next Tuesday. Bonds, the way they go on the ballot anyway, allows for an issuance of debt that literally they are putting out money with an agreement that the entity, school boards in this case, will pay it back over time at a later date at a higher rate. It's an investment for people to buy into it, and therefore the infusion of money at the time allows them to get the cash to do something now and pay it back over a longer time. In really simplistic, not a financial advisor type terms, important to point out that for at least Canutillo Independent School Districts, they are in their filings and the information they're putting out saying that it will be something that will not be a tax increase, but we've had discussion on that as well. So again, if you want to find out more about that, visit the Canutillo Independent School District site. They've got their bond postings information there. Important discussions to be had here. Okay, so we do have, of course, other ways you can participate in the show, including those pound 250 lines where you can call that, dial pound 250, those 4 symbols on your cell phone, say the keyword Talk El Paso when prompted, and leave your own message like this.
This is Messiah Frankie. I just want to share with you how excited I am of what happened this weekend here in our beautiful little town of Messiah. We had the mariachi conference down here in our little plaza. It was so gorgeous, wonderful. The People, it was just so what I am so beyond. That's the reason I'm calling. I can't almost get the words out of how incredible these folks that do this mariachi stuff is. I mean, you have the girls that I think they're all mezzo soprano, and then the guys, they're like tenor, and every one of them is singing is just so wonderful, wonderful. And so the whole point of this thing, I'm saying, this is the kind of thing that humans need to appreciate instead of the stupid nonsense that everybody else is thinking about, like that stupid January the 6th insurrection seditionist crap. Go listen to Mariachi Bon, you bozos.
An interesting kind of life advice. Again, want to leave your own message, particularly as we're at the end of the show here and running out of time. If you want to leave a message for the next one that we'll play during this segment, again, pound 250, keyword Talk El Paso. So I was trying to squeeze in at least one more here. We do have Mary on the west side right now. Mary, thanks for joining us.
Yes, Andrew, thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to respond, of course, to our neighbor on the northeast,
Mm-hmm.
Trump derangement syndrome, Baul. Just want to remind him that vaccine that he's so in love with, that was created under the Donald Trump Warp Speed Initiative, President Trump's Warp Speed Initiative. So if everything that President Trump has done in his whole life and in his 4 years presidency is so bad and so horrible, then what the heck is he doing taking the vaccine? He loves that vaccine. And let me tell you, it's not about the vaccine, Baul. It's about the choice. If you want to take it, take it. It's your choice. It's your body. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't believe in it, don't take it. It's your choice. And the other thing, he keeps highlighting this Fauci, this so-called Dr. Fauci. Well, let's now call him Dr. Frankenstein, because as of today, we have now all heard the new reports where he has funded the studies, experiments, horrific experiments against these puppies, these beagle puppies in Tunisia, where they're doping them up and putting them in these tents, their heads in tents, so that the sand fleas will feed off of them because they want to see what the outcome is or what the reaction is. And before they put these little dogs in these tents, they strip their vocal cords out so that they don't bark and they don't whimper, because the barking and the whimpering was making the people working these experiments uncomfortable.
I mean, yeah, I've seen the pictures myself here, and not a good look at the very least. And to your previous point, yeah, it's amazing how much of life you can miss if you only look at the dogma of, well, any movement, frankly, here. We're going to have to leave it there for today because we're out of time here for this program. So thank you for those points and for that call. We'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. And your host, Andrew J. Polk. Have a great weekend, y'all. Look twice, weekday, rather, I should say. Look twice for motorcycles when not on the road, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Time for a Medicare moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. Do you ever encounter veterans who are overinsured?
Yeah, we do. You know, in certain circumstances, we find some veterans, they purchased a civilian product that duplicates the benefits that they already get through their military benefit, like TRICARE for Life, for example. This can be pricey when we discover it, but it's a quick fix that potentially puts thousands of dollars back in the veteran's pocket.
More info on that and much more. You can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast, at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy traffic
News
on
on the hour
I-10
and the
westbound
half.
between
Traffic
Yarborough
and weather
up
all
through
day.
the roadwork
News
scene
Radio
at
690
Whitehouse
is
right now,
KTSM
with a
AM
right lane
El
closure
Paso,
merge
an
left to
iHeart
get by.
radio
This is
station.
ongoing until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Also an injury crash on Hercules.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. At least 5 people and a police officer are hurt after a shooting at a Boise, Idaho mall. Police say it happened at the Boise Town Square Mall this afternoon, and KTVB reports witnesses said a man started shooting at people riding an escalator. This man was inside when the incident unfolded.
Definitely some panic in people's eyes. One lady was on the phone and she was crying, talking to somebody. A lot of parents with kids.
Police said there is no other information indicating there are any other threats. The Senate Majority Leader thinks House and Senate Democrats are nearing the end of negotiations on the sweeping social spending bill. Chuck Schumer opened the Senate and called it consequential, desperately needed legislation. An FDA advisory board is meeting tomorrow to consider Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. Meantime, Moderna says its trial data shows a half dose of its COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective.